Today's guest, Rabbi Yaakov Shapiro, an international speaker, author, and rabbi for over 30 years. Well-known critic of Zionism.
What is a Jew?
Definition of a Jew is it's a religion, job description given by God. We are only a people, because of our faith, are obligated to fulfill these commandments. Zionist plan was to change the definition of a Jew to a nationality. They stripped Judaism of religious content, left the husk of whatever they could fit into their nationalism. Zionism is its own religion. Artificial Jewish flavoring started creating cultural centers and schools and brainwashing. Zionists had to convince the Jews that you are not what you think you are. A Jew is not a race. They are Jews of all races. A Jew is not an ethnicity. You can't convert to an ethnicity. And Jews are also not a nationality. The Jews had no flag. Difficult to believe that Ivanka Trump and Sammy Davis Jr., who converted to Judaism, are both of the same ethnicity.
I often confuse them.
Hello and welcome to episode 100 of the Palestine Pod, the weekly podcast where we break down the latest headlines dealing with Palestine from all over the world and bring you stories, commentary, and interviews with the aim of supporting the Palestinian struggle for decolonization, justice, and equal rights. I'm one of your hosts, Lara E. You might know me from Instagram as @GazanGirl, and I'm joined by my co-host, Mikey B.
What's up, y'all? Mikey B on TikTok, Michael Schertzer on Instagram, and you can call me Mikey Intifada if you claim to be the real Jews, but you run around killing and stealing all the time.
Before we get into today's episode, please like, comment, and subscribe if you hang out with us on YouTube. If you're listening on a podcast app, subscribe and leave a review. As always, you can find our full episodes and sources on PalestinePod.com. And if you want to get involved in the conversation, reach out to us at PalestinePod@gmail.com and give us a follow on Instagram @ThePalestinePod. So, Rabbi, I don't have a bio for you, but I just found one online. Is that going to be okay to read, or would you prefer to send me something that you already have? I just realized I prefer to ask.
It depends if I wrote the bio or the Zionists did.
Well,
Where'd you get it from?
Honestly, sometimes they put together some nice stuff for us. Like they've got me a Canary Mission page that details all of the activism that I've done for Palestine. I forgot I did some of that. I was like, wow, that's pretty good.
Today's guest is Rabbi Yaakov Shapiro, an international speaker, author, and rabbi for over 30 years. Amongst his areas of research are religious philosophy, analytic theology, Talmud, and biblical exegesis. He's a well-known critic of Zionism, and his most recent work, The Empty Wagon, Zionism's Journey from Identity Crisis to Identity Theft, is a 1,381-page treatise on the differences between Judaism and Zionism. It is perhaps the most comprehensive work written on the subject. Rabbi Shapiro, welcome to the Palestine Pod.
Thank you very much for having me.
We're so honored to have you. Thank you so much for coming on the pod. I consider you like the LeBron James of Jews.
I consider LeBron James the rabbi of sports.
Hilarious response. This interview is going to be amazing. I say that because you're always dunking on Zionists, and it's just nice to see Jews dunk.
That's very good. The real truth is that the Zionists dunk on Jews. Rather than the Jews dunking on Zionists. Zionism itself was created as a substitute for Judaism, a replacement for Judaism, and a way to negate Judaism.
Yeah, so that takes us to our first question. What is a Jew?
Well, that's a very good question, and it's a question that Zionists are unable to answer because they negated the real definition. When I say the real definition, I mean the only intellectually consistent one. Let's first start with what a Jew is not. A Jew is not a race. They are Jews of all races. They are black Jews and white Jews, brown Jews. A Jew is not an ethnicity. There are Jews of all sorts of ethnicities. Makes no sense to say that the Ethiopian Jews and the Yemenite Jews are of the same ethnicity as the German and Russian Jews. It also makes no sense to say that you can convert to an ethnicity, even though you can convert to Judaism. It will be difficult to believe that Ivanka Trump and Sammy Davis Jr., who claims to have converted to Judaism, are both of the same ethnicity, right?
I don't know. I often confuse them.
A lot of people are confused when they talk about the Zionist definition of Judaism. So you have a lot of company there. there are real converts to Judaism. King David came from an ethnic Moabite family. Ruth converted to Judaism, and King David is her great-great-grandson. You can convert to an ethnicity. In addition, by Jewish law, if your father is not Jewish and your mother is Jewish, you are 100% Jewish. That doesn't follow the DNA rules of ethnicity. Ethnicity depends on your ancestry and your culture and things like that. But Judaism does not. There are actual, very precise rules and guidelines as to what constitutes a Jew and what does not. And this has been upheld for thousands of years. Jews are also not a nationality. Jews have had no national characteristics, meaning we've had no common land, language, or culture. For thousands of years, the Jews had no flag. Jews had no national anthem. Jews didn't even have a national symbol. The Star of David wasn't a national symbol of Jews. It's a Kabbalistic symbol. It represents certain concepts in Judaism, but it's not the symbol of our religion. I mean, it has no holiness in it. You're allowed to throw it on the floor or in the garbage or something like that. It's not considered a Jewish holy object or a Jewish holy symbol. The definition of a Jew is it's a religion, but there are non-religious Jews. That's true. And the reason for that is because every religion has its rules. And the rule of Judaism says that when God gave the Torah to Moses on Mount Sinai, whoever the Torah at that point required to fulfill the law of God, the 613 commandments, that by definition means you're a Jew. If you weren't obligated by that revelation to fulfill the 613 commandments, you're not a Jew, you're a Gentile. Gentiles are obligated to fulfill 7 commandments, Jews 613. Whoever is obligated to fulfill the 613 is considered a Jew, whether they believe that or not. Now, there are Jews in good standing, Jews in bad standing, there are traitorous Jews, there are treacherous Jews, but a Jew who is born, he is a Jew if he is obligated to fulfill the 613 commandments. So if you really want to be precise, being a Jew in the most accurate way to describe it is a job description given by God. God said you are deputized into this religion. You are obligated to fulfill these commandments, whether you do them or not. The obligation, the job description, defines you as a Jew. Now, there are all sorts of legal questions that we have regarding very precise, very, very precise laws as to what's considered a convert. You can convert into Judaism. You cannot convert out of Judaism. If a pregnant woman converts, her child is considered Jewish when it's born. It's a question. It's a disagreement amongst Jewish scholars whether the child is considered a convert, having converted together with the mother, or is it considered born Jewish because the mother converted before the baby was born? It's a question in our legal scholars. It's a disagreement. The difference is because if a child is converted when he's a minor, when he comes of age, he has the ability to renounce his conversion and say, I don't want to be Jewish. If you're born Jewish, you don't have that right. If a woman is converted while she's pregnant and she has a baby, when that baby becomes of age, bar mitzvah or bas mitzvah, is that baby now, who's an adult, allowed to renounce their Judaism? Is he considered born Jewish or converted? So these are questions.
Zionists would be like, they are Jewish if they can shoot a gun.
Well, you know what? That was actually Jabotinsky kind of sort of hinted at that. You know the quote? He says, as far as what we need to teach our children is how to shoot, Now, the Zionists didn't want this definition of Jew. The Zionists, I'll give you a quick history of how Zionism came into existence. They looked at Jews the same way the anti-Semites did. These were assimilated Jews, non-religious Jews, who looked at Jews as disgusting, immoral, weak, ugly, cowardly. And all the types of stereotypes that you find amongst the anti-Semites, you find in the original early Zionist writings. Their first solution was to assimilate. Theodor Herzl, who was one of these people who really didn't like Jews, he had an idea to convert all Jews to Christianity. He wrote about it in his diary. There was this fantasy he had where all the Jews are going to line up one Sunday afternoon, I believe it was Sunday, if I remember right, and go to church and be baptized and convert, except Herzl himself is going to be the last Jew. And then there won't be any more anti-Semitism. And not only that, but Jews will forget that they're Jews. They won't be Jews anymore. And they will live happily ever after. Anti-Semitism was attributed to the faults of the Jews, besides the anti-Semites' own inadequacies. They figured that if you change the Jews, the anti-Semites won't hate them anymore. So basically, the Zionist plan was to change to end anti-Semitism by changing Semitism as far as Jews are concerned, by eliminating that. The problem with the original plan, assimilation, is that it didn't work. In the late 1800s, there were pogroms, primarily in Russia, which showed the Zionists, or the assimilated Jews actually, that assimilated Jews are still Jews and they're still hated. But now that's where the identity crisis comes in. The subtitle of my book is Zionism's Journey from Identity Crisis to Identity Theft. The Zionists didn't